Forbes India and CNBC-TV18 present Exotel, EngageX.
Now we are looking at our first panel. In an increasingly digital-first economy, trust has become one of the most valuable currencies a business can build. And customers today are making decisions not just based on products or pricing, but on transparency. And in sectors where every conversation carries financial, personal, or emotional significance, trust is a non-negotiable. It's no longer a soft brand value operating in the background or in silos. It directly impacts growth, retention, reputation, and long-term enterprise value. So our first session this evening explores exactly that idea. Trust is not a brand attribute, it's an economic asset. To moderate this conversation, I would request Latha to join us back on stage. And joining her on stage, may I invite Tarun Chugh, MD and CEO, Bajaj Life Insurance, Alok Aggarwal, CEO, Muthoot Home Finance, Dheeraj Relli, MD and CEO, HDFC Securities, Raju Dodti, COO and L&T Finance, and may I have Shivakumar once again back, co-founder and CEO, ladies and gentlemen, Exotel.
Well, the others have been introduced and perhaps many of them don't need an introduction. But the topic does. We are being told to discuss that a brand is not just an indication of reputation. It's also an economic asset. And that's the point. We have brands all over. Everyone over here, whether it's L&T or HDFC or Bajaj, or for that matter, Exotel, everyone here is a brand. But we always think of brand as something which gives us recognition. We are today trying to discuss that brand is not just about reputation, it's about leveraging it because it is trusted. So that's the discussion. How do you leverage it to gain more trust? Because trust is at the bottom of the businesses that we are doing. Let me start with you, Shivku. Since you provide the technology, can you speak to us about technological changes that build trust? How do you see the connection?
Yeah, no, I think oftentimes we tend to use technology as something that keeps humans away, if you know what I mean, like put people on phones, put people on TVs. I think technology is a little bit like, all technology has good and bad, right? So I think the question really is, ultimately one needs to ask, what are we trying to do here? And so can we now put technology to good use to further whatever it is, the deep-rooted desires of humans? I think that's the right way to think about it. And that is somewhat my vision with Harmony as well. Technology helps, but I think ultimately it needs to help humans. I think.
Of course, but since you all are the tech company here, is that something that you all keep thinking about? Is it part of your design when you design your technology that I must ensure this builds trust?
No, absolutely. I think, ultimately we are at the service of somebody, right? So I'm at the service of my customers here. So, if that's not important, then what is, right? Like what exactly is, letting me turn up to work every day? So I think ability to keep their trust so that we can go back for more. I think that's the way to think about it, yeah.
Fine. Let me come to Tarun and check out how you look at trust. Now, here, I would assume of all of us, people are trusting you, or I would be trusting Bajaj Alliance to service me for the next 30 years when I pay for a policy. So, how do you think of trust? How do you ensure that your millions of customers trust you for the next 30 years?
It is a pickle. It's not an easy one, this one. You're talking of a product which once bought is a low engagement product. At the same time, it's a relationship which is 20 to 30 years at the very least, could be longer. But trust is at the center of it because it's possibly the most trusted product you could possibly have in your basket. Uh, the way I would, though, voice it is like trust is like a ledger you develop year on year at every moment of truth that the customer interacts with you. I mean, one bad experience and you've kind of lost the trust. So every point is a very critical touch point because it's a rare one. It'll happen once a year maybe, but that interaction has to be rich. And what you take out of it is the economics of it. So if I look at the topic and the fact that how do you monetize that trust is something that becomes critical. So how we monetize usually, and that's how I know that my customers are still trusting me, is whether they are coming back, and kind of Shivku talked about it. Can you go back to the same insurance company and buy another policy? And for example, today we have about 25% of our every year customers are repeat customers. So that's like a good place to be in. But it becomes very difficult, to be able to keep the experience constantly positive. And two things become difficult, particularly. One is to be able to measure it. Like a silent customer, how do you measure the customer is happy or not?
But persistency. Persistency ratios are not an indication of trust.
It is, of course. But, we all talk of persistency, and in CNBC, you do take up persistency a lot. Sometimes it's good for the customer not to be persistent in a unit-linked policy because he or she's made the money and then decides to put the rest in a 4-5% guaranteed fund. So it's
fully paid up.
Yeah, it's fully paid up. So, so the product is like that. So coming back to what I was saying is how do you measure the fact that there is constant trust? And second, I mean, how do you, when the customer does come to you, you have various touch points. You have an Exotel Connect, you have various, an IVR, or you have a website, and you have your agent, and you have your branch, and you have so on and so forth. How do you start from the place where the customer left last time? So he or she doesn't have to start all over again, telling you what the issue was, etc., etc. So that gets to be the toughest part. So the answer there is only possibly one, that if there's an omni-channel experience you can give, which is a very good English to use, but not an easy one to provide. It's not an easy one to provide.
Fair point. Apologies about the alliance part. We went to town when they separated from you. Yes, it's only Bajaj Insurance. Dheeraj, let me ask you to approach from a different angle. You all have become from what was a brick and mortar company to almost entirely digital. Now, when you go that way, as Shivku was pointing out, there will be less and less human interaction and more digital interactions. How do you ensure that trust remains? Ultimately, we are still a country where we would like the handholding, the human handholding. So how do you all ensure that when you go to digital, the trust still remains?
So you're right, Latha, that now we are completely a digital company, and 93% of our customer use digital properties to transact with us. But having said that, I think let me start with first on trust. For me, trust is availability and adherence to certain quality standards. Availability is the most critical thing. Like, let's say you go to a parking and you want to start your car, you have keys and you switch on the ignition, you are sure that the car will start and you will be able to go to the place you are looking forward to. Same thing when it used to happen in a brick and mortar ecosystem for branches of banks, that 10 o'clock is the time when branch opens. You go at 10 o'clock, somebody will be there to service you, somebody will attend to you as per your requirement and meet or exceed your expectations. That has equally transpired to now digital properties, because digital properties are available 24/7 as and when customer has time and they are looking forward to check their portfolio. When they open their app, they log in, the app will tell them exactly what they are looking forward for. So that is something which is very, very critical and important. Availability and also adhering to the certain quality standards. On top of it, now customers are looking forward for a greater experience. They don't want to spend, it's not their core activity that they would spend all the time on particular application. They are looking forward for a precise, simple, straight, credible answers. I want to look at my portfolio. What's the value of my portfolio? Has it increased, decreased on today, or since the time I am holding it in the context of our business? They should get to see that very clearly, and they have a trust that the calculations are absolutely impeccable and there is no validation that they need. Yeah.
Got your point. The point is, even when they check 24 hours, is it possible for them to get a human voice at the end? Is that also something that has to be welded when you shift from a branch-led model to a digital model?
See, if we serve customers across all geographies, not in India only, and customer also operate at a different time zones also. Within India also, they have their own way of engaging with with us. So that way, it's humanly impossible to service them 24/7 with the brick and mortar ecosystem. But as Shivku said, that it's human in the loop, AI or technology. I won't say just AI. It's the technology that will serve the customer 24/7 very clearly. That's something has been given and have been assimilated in India big time. So it's not only confined to financial services space. It is the way of life for most of us now.
I request you all to hold a little, because we're recording what you're saying. We'll hold you to it. Okay, let me just move away from AI a bit and come to trust per se. Alok, your, Muthoot is the giant, and now into home finance. We have always identified it with gold, and it's absolutely the leader in that business. How does trust get transferred? Does it get transferred automatically? I mean, it's a question actually that's relevant to all of you over here. If you just take the parent's name, does trust come? Or does it have to be proven and achieved at each point?
So Latha, let me start with quoting this. I represent Muthoot Group, Muthoot Finance, and we are in the lending business. Of course, gold loan is the primary business we are in. And gold loan is the only lending product where the customer has to trust the lender more than the lender has to trust the customer. A customer walks in with say 10 grams of gold worth 1.5 lakhs and goes out with say 1 lakh of cash in hand. He's already leaving money on the table. So we have been in this business for decades and decades now, across 7,500 branches across the country, and people walk in with branches with gold in their hand. So trust is something we commit, we deliver. We commit and we deliver, and we keep doing that boring thing again and again without flinching. And we are very sure what we are going to commit. So that's how trust is gained, by doing what you say and doing that again and again repeatedly, and trying to institutionalize it and build it as a DNA so it is repetitive across all your branches, across all your feet on street, and across all your services. And that has been something as a culture which has been built into Muthoot and has been ingrained in the organization. And that's how it's built up. Now, coming to your question is, trusting one automatically relates to other. Now, see, trust has to be earned. A group company customer may bring me familiarity. He may know the brand Muthoot. But just because he's familiar to a group company doesn't mean I use the data without consent. I use the data without his explicit understanding of why the data is being used. Familiarity gets you in the door. But if I am doing actions and things which are breaking a customer trust, I may lose him even from the primary business. So what I do is I build in ways and means to educate the customer what are the other products and services available at a time convenient to him. See, gold loan is a short tenured product, 3 months, 6 months at max. I handle affordable housing. Now, typically my customer would buy a house somewhere in the age group of 30 to 45. And he will buy only one house in his lifetime. So in that sweet spot of 15 years, I have to catch him when he's planning to buy a house. He may borrow a gold loan for a marriage, for education, for medical expense, for refurbishment, for whatever. Yeah, he's a repeat customer. But for me to catch him at the right time when he wants a home loan is very difficult stroke of luck. Unless he walks into the branch and sees that, okay, Muthoot offers home loan and inquires voluntarily. And that time, how quickly we are able to turn it around and serve him and ensure we deliver what we commit is what gets the customer committed for life. And that's what we try and do repeatedly.
I think the common thing running from all of you is that yes, the brand gets you the customer. He only comes, it helps him enter the door, but thereafter keeping him is a repeat performance of efficiency and transparency. Actually, Raju, you are in a more advantageous position in the sense that L&T Finance renders a range of, your service infrastructure, SME, MSME, retail as well. How is trust the common factor? Just talk to us about, what you see common in all these activities.
So good afternoon all. Actually, when all of them were talking, my attention was half at them and half at the constituents which comprises L&T Finance. So when it comes to the customers, look at the Shibu's end. He is creating a technology from the urban center. I am not diminishing, by the way, but he is creating a technology from the urban center. He uses Amazon, Netflix, and many other very suave technological platforms. Everyone, for all of us for that matter. But we have to now cater to customers who are spread across the width and breadth of the country. So when we look at the customers, L&T Finance, we have a customer who is a lady in a village who borrows as little as 55,000 rupees, whose husband is working in a city as a migrant. When you understand that customer and that customer's need, your build-up of the technology is going to be different than when it comes to what Alok mentioned about the gold loan. Now the gold loan is also, the gold is provided by the hungry customer, but many a times it is the gold that belongs to a lady that is most of the time Sridhan. So when you understand the sentiment behind it, then you will understand that there is a very little scope, or in fact there is no scope to be breached when this interaction happens. And then many other products basically come in over there. As far as we are concerned, and for that matter all banks, NBFCs, as well as the nationalized banks are concerned, we are that way regulated. RBI has come up with some kind of a regulation for us to behave in a particular manner. But when it comes to the AI, all that they have come up with something called free AI framework. That is the framework for responsible and ethical enablement of AI. And there's a framework which consists of few hundred pages. RBI at this point in time has not yet come, and I think they will not probably very soon come as to how would we go ahead and regulate this particular behavior between a customer and a regulated entity. As they say, when the food is getting cooked in the kitchen, one should not enter into the kitchen because kitchen is messy. All that we are seeing is around is the messiness. But within that, the scope to bridge the trust for the customer is almost zero. And that is where I think whether it is a regulated entity doing the secure product or an unsecured product. Sometimes people say that when it comes to the secure product, as he mentioned just now, that he has pledged the gold. When it comes to the home loan, he is going to give the deposit of the title deeds to you for a loan which will be there for 20 years. That customer is going to definitely look at the brand's value. He is going to hand over the title deeds of the paper of his house, which he expects, when I repay the loan, must come back to me. So I wouldn't really say that the brand has minimal value. All the players have the value in the ecosystem, be it the brand, be it the customer's trust that we need to win. But the center of it is the employee. Employee which deals with all these customers, if one of they end up faltering, it creates the damage for the entire brand.
That is true. One bad apple can make it extremely difficult for the rest of the business and even allied businesses perhaps to get the next customer. Okay, let me it's not, okay, RBI has not stepped in and put in any ethical rules on AI and how you use it to breach or not breach privacy rules, but the DPDP Act has already come. So, let me start with the DPDP Act, Shivku. When you see the industry, do you find them capable of not breaching the DPDP Act, or are you finding many of them kind of scampering, oh my God, we didn't think of this, now we have to cover this part, which is not yet secure. either through, masking the number. Are you finding the industry unprepared for the DPDP Act?
See, frankly, the industry and Exotel, we are all scampering. So I think, okay, customer privacy is real. I don't want anybody to get my number. So that's how the world thinks about it. So that's for sure. And then there is, I don't know, mythos and things like that is going to come soon. So God knows what is about to happen to all the buggy code that we've written. So, I think it's very important to pay attention to security in general, privacy in general in this day and age, because there's a lot of power with the tech now in many people's hands. So I think the general direction of where, let's say, the industry is going, where the regulators are growing, I think that's fine. But I think sometimes the speed with which they do things, the extent to which they do things, the reaction times that is available, some of these things are a little hard to follow. But it is what it is. So we will.
I think the industry has a distance to cover when it comes to the DPDP Act and protecting customer privacy, or have some of the bigger customers achieved it?
So, of course, I don't know the entirety of what people do with DPDP. I'm not privy to that. But it is true that, companies do have some ground to cover. Of course, masking number is just one of the several aspects of DPDP. And that's one aspect that we do very well. So what she's referring to is that I think we actually came up with number masking before number masking was a thing. So most of you would have, when you've taken an Uber or an Ola, you'll see these landline numbers from where the calls are coming from. That was actually one of Exotel's earliest products. So in that sense, you've all used Exotel even before you knew it was Exotel. So I know the space. I know why companies have to do it. But of course, the act itself is a lot more than just number marking. So it's a journey.
Okay. Yes, it is. Tarun, you want to add to that? Do you think, since you all are leading in this industry, would you say that, I get perturbed when there is a crank call asking me, I don't know it's crank. It's offering me a service. I'm not sure whether my number or my data has already gone to someone outside the company. They usually pose as your company and we have to find out the dot is in the wrong place, so it's not the official company. So do you think the industry is up there on masking numbers, on ensuring privacy? I'm just taken by this DPDP Act a great deal.
So in our perspective, and usually in financial services, there are three aspects of DPDP which become relevant. One is, like you said, how do you keep your data, is it masked, etc. The second is data security per se, right? But I think where everything is changing, particularly specifically in DPDP, is how we use the data. Initially, trying to get your consent. So it's really around the consent architecture. Earlier, if there could be, there was a hidden consent in a form somewhere, you would just tick it, or if you even if you don't tick it, it's assumed it's there. And we can use it the way we want. Now it is specific. As for the DPDP, it is for a purpose, and it is revocable. So I can just revoke it as a customer, right? So now this aspect is something that the industry will have to get used to. And now you can't just call somebody like that. Now when you're talking of crank calls, that's a different world altogether. That's about security, I'd say. But I think the consent architecture is where we all need to now. And that's, I think, what Shivku's saying we all have to grapple with and try to solve for it. So it'll become very critical that what is the consent infrastructure we're building? What are the do's and don'ts we're building in the processes? Are people aware that you can't do this beyond a certain extent? Does a customer really know, that he or she can revoke this consent? The customer, have you even written your document in such a way that a customer now knows that, look, I have to give a consent? Or is it somebody just called you and said, sir, up sign kar dijiye, theek hai? So the world is changing. And I think it is a huge change. Trainings have to be done. People have to be understood. Now, I might keep the data the way I do, right? And I'd be able to handle the consent architecture. But if I have 200,000 advisors, I have 28,000 employees, I'm talking about Bajaj Life, and all these people, now a salesperson may just keep your data in his textbook. And what am I supposed to do about that? But maybe I'll be held responsible. So it's things like that which are the things that are unknown as of now. And I think that's what we'll have to grapple with. The technology is there.
Yeah.
But beyond that is where behaviors is where it comes in.
No, I agree. You're looking at it from the corporate angle. And let me react as a customer. You know, that consent is given almost like a checkbox. We don't even read. Have you checked this box after reading the terms and conditions? How many of us have read any term and condition? Whether you're reading Guardian newspaper or whether you're applying for a loan, we just check it without consideration.
So let me just, before you give it off, and specifically to this, there is this entire discussion around the government, which hasn't yet surfaced, but I can sense it's coming, is around dark patterns. Are you really declaring clearly what you're talking about? The government is talking about that. So these kind of things will get addressed.
Okay. The sheer size of the document we sign deters us from reading every word. So someday that will have to change. Does Exotel deal with that? I mean, usually the consent form is so much and also ran, so much not considered by the customer. Will you all be, are you all in the technology to make it more relevant to the customer, getting his informed consent?
A little bit. Of course, we have our DLT platform, and there's a little bit of work that we do there. But actually, we are also subject to similar regulations. So we actually come under the Department of Telecommunication. So we have our own forms, which we actually distribute to all of them to fill. So
Okay. I think I'll move away from DPDP for a bit and get to the other point, which AI will bring to the fore even more. And I think I would like actually more of you to react to that. You know, when AI is able to give you so much about the customer, you're able to reach the customer for other products. Tell me, Dheeraj, at what point are you able to, stop from being a nag? Because you know so much about the customer, you're constantly giving them products. So do you all also think about that I should not go to the customer too persistently?
So my take on data privacy is that data privacy has to be a proposition and not anymore a compliance. That's something would be actually changing the mindset at all our companies level and CXOs level. Then we will be able to do justice to it. You said that we are signing so many terms and conditions, and that's where you can leverage even AI also. You can put the terms and condition, upload them to Perplexity or ChatGPT and ask that, are these terms and conditions draconian or favorable? Which one I should be actually looking at more closely and get an answer to that. For a full 4 pages terms and conditions can be summarized for you to look at only 30 words, which you can actually read it more carefully. And if you are not comfortable, you should not be compliant with that.
I think that deserves a round of applause. Thank you very much.
So that's where I think the AI has many use cases. AI can actually improve the way we operate, work, and respond to various situations in life. It's all about leveraging it. In fact, I was looking at one video and I really liked about that particular content. And I said, I put that video to Perplexity, which I use more often. And I said, give me an Indian context to it and summarize it for me. And it could able to tell me that, in the global context, this was the thing, but I think you are not, I used word translate it to you. So the Perplexity corrected, I will not translate it, but I would give you a perspective on the same. So that's how the AI is getting evolved and becoming more and more relevant and meaningful for you. In fact, I would urge all of you to do a SWOT analysis about your company with your team members and spend full day to the same, and then ask Perplexity to do the same. It will do it, Perplexity or ChatGPT, it will do better job than the entire team has done.
Show the mirror to you. Fair point. Actually, let me just... Yeah.
You said that, in terms of communication, we have higher engagement products like in stock broking and distribution of financial products. We have much more wider and deeper engagement with the customers than many of those who are in the panel, because they're probably selling one product or one policy to the customers. That's where, you know, we have been working on to go to a hyper personalized content for the customers. I'll give you an example. Let's say a company A has declared a dividend. How do you expect your 1 lakh customers who have their demat balances on that particular stock to know about it? It's not their core job to track when a company is declaring dividend, when dividend will get paid. There is a different date on which dividend is declared, different day on dividend is paid. You are not going to expect this for customers to track it for themselves. So that's where hyper personalization is important and relevant, and you give them the right nudges, right information, then only they will remain engaged. If you send them a generic communication, let me tell you now, customers are sick and tired of generic communications, and they are absolutely not up for the same.
Okay. No, I want to come to Raju for another question, but let me just finish this hyper-personalization. You know, Tarun, very often when I have told people, you know, I was speaking to this person from this bank or this NBFC, can you please tell them not to nag me with any more messages? This is very often a point that comes to me. I mean, as if I can tell them that. But Tarun, this hyper-personalization can become a double-edged sword. So is that something up there that it is not a trust factor as much as something that may keep the customer, like keep you at arm's length? Is that a thought that comes when you are designing your AI and your hyper-personalization?
Yeah, I think the core point there that comes when you think about this is, A, the proposition that Dheeraj talked about. Is it meaningful enough to the customer for him or her to feel that my information was used properly? I think that's the only question we are talking about really here. But if you use my information improperly, then I'm going to be really unhappy with you, and I'm going to be asking you so many other things. If you're not keeping my information secure, well, then God help you. So I think that's the crux of all of it. So whenever we're designing this entire thought process, that what should we do with all the personalization or the hyper-personalization, that becomes a core question you've got to ask yourself. Yeah, what's in it for me?
Okay, let me just digress to another point, because when I was reading up for what is a difficult topic for me, I heard that L&T Finance has a very impressive AI stack, that you'll have something called Project Cyclops for underwriting and Project Nostradamus for portfolio prediction. Now, are you all sure that at what point do you think that this AI explainability has arrived, or it is hallucinating? How do you approach AI?
So a bit about Project Cyclops. It is our proprietary and inbuilt developed credit underwriting machine. Now, this particular model actually takes care of many trust signals. So typically an underwriting is done at looking at the customer's profile, right? So where we are now basically trying to triangulate the customer's banking data with the help of account aggregator, the customer's identity proof by taking API from the UIDAI network, then the PAN from the NSDL network. Then you go back and then look at the customer's basically area, geography basically. Now, this is more relevant for a farmer for that matter. Because a farmer situated in a particular region, what kind of a crop is there? What is the cycle of a crop? What are the prices in the mandi prevailing at that point in time? And then, of course, last but not the least, the data from the credit bureau, wherein you get the horoscope of a customer right from the time he has started basically banking with some of the regulated entities, because they are mandated by RBI to report to these bureaus. So you get all comprehensive information, and then you build models around it, and then that is being used for the purpose of giving the loan to that customer. When it comes to the customer, the journey starts at the time when you basically source a customer and give him a loan. But after that, you have to also ensure that he gives the money back. And that is where the portfolio management comes into picture. At the time, in the moment when you gave him the money, he would be probably the best in class credit at that point in time. Whether his credit has deteriorated after you have given the loan. And that comes the Nostradamus basically, wherein it will give you the information. Now, of course, the account aggregator framework enables the customer to provide you the information from time to time. He was mentioning about the consent infrastructure. Actually, the consent infrastructure is getting legitimized with the DPDP Act. But if you see the behavior of lending entities, it is already in vogue for decades, actually. The consents are already being given. They are getting legitimized now. When it comes to the account aggregator framework, you will be having access to that customer's bank account, his spending pattern, his salary getting increased for that matter, income getting increased, which is where the cross-selling angle would come in. So you will go with the collection efforts if the situation is worsening, or you will go for an additional product if you think that the situation is improving, or you may go for an upsell. Like that is where most of the banks, they send you these messages that you have now approved offer of additional 5 lakhs, and you was wondering, ye kahan se aa gaya? That is because they are watching your credit profile and then they are giving you those offers basically.
Fair point. Okay, that's a little consoling. Then I wouldn't be that irritated when we get those messages. Well, I have more questions and less time. Alok, I wanted to ask you, you can give a lot of empathy, attention when when your AUM was 2,000 crores. In 1 year, you all went to 3,000 crores, almost 2,900 FY25 numbers. I don't know your FY26 numbers. How do you scale trust? How do you scale empathy?
Believe me, Latha, scaling AUM is much easier than scaling trust. Okay. See, when you scale, more than often, there are more visibility of gaps across the organization. When you have to scale trust, first thing you have to ensure is you are consistent across all your delivery platforms. And when you scale, you expand to more geography, you expand to more locations. Maintaining that standard, consistent customer experience is very important. So first and foremost, we focus on that. And with the advent of technology, let me tell you, with technology, AI, processing has improved. Customer acquisition speed has gone up. But the journey will only last if there is trust in the system. You may onboard a customer, you may acquire a customer very fast due to technology and other things, but the journey should last. And trust is the only bedrock, both in life and business, for anything to be consistent and lasting. So we try and maintain the trust, we commit right, and we honor what we commit. And that we do it again and again. That's it.
Fair point. Actually, I'm missing a banker over here. In your case, you all have to trust the customer. For the banker, the customer has to trust them. So I guess their questions will be tough. And sorry, life insurance. I agree with you. I completely concede that point that you all have to be trusted. Okay, we are at the last 1 minute. I'm told by the organizers. So a rapid fire. What is the most important quality that the organization should concentrate on? Will it be efficiency? Will it be empathy? Will it be transparency? Will it be scale? I just want, or some other quality that I have not even thought of. If possible, monosyllabic answers.
Sorry, what were the 4 options again?
Well, I thought technological efficiency. What else did I say? Technological efficiency, transparency, empathy. Which one would you say is most important?
I would say customer service.
Customer service, CX.
Customer experience.
Okay, so actually you all are in the same place, CX.
All of it.
All of it. No, but which would be the most important? I mean, just to see.
You can't do one without the other, as simple as that.
Alok?
Yeah, I would agree. Building trust through all of it.
Okay.
So building trust would be the one.
Okay, so we didn't choose the wrong topic then.
Marriage of artificial intelligence with emotional intelligence.
Okay, that's well put. I think human in the loop was something like that. Thank you very much, Raju, Alok, Tarun, Dheeraj, and Shivku. I was not very sure where I would go with something that looked a little nebulous to me. Trust as an economic asset. We are wiser in terms of the way in which our panel is thinking about it. Thank you very much for this very interesting conversation. I'm being told by this remote AI that there are some certificates waiting for all of you.
Yes. And that would be to acknowledge our speakers' participation today. We would now present the Grow Billion Trees certificate to each of our panelists as a token of our appreciation. And as part of this initiative, we will be planting a tree in their names, which will be a step towards greener future as their partners. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thank you, Latha. Can we have a photo op, please? All of you, can I request you to come in the middle of the stage? Center stage.
Forbes India and CNBC-TV18 present Exotel, EngageX.